Welcome back. We're in the fourth and final video of the True Beginner tutorial series for Power BI. What is this one going to be about? Well, the first one was a tour of Power BI, talking about the different panes and areas. The second one was about getting data and transforming data. The third was about modeling data, organizing data, DAX foundational concepts. This final one is going to be using that data to create cool images. This is the fun part. That's all fun, but this is the really fun part. So let's dive into Power BI. All right, so here we are. If you haven't seen the other videos, there's 3 previous videos. I show links about how to get to GitHub, to get files, to get data sets, to build what we're at right now. And I'm going to progress this process. So again, you can go to GitHub and download this file as well to go along with what I'm doing to reverse engineer it yourselves. I encourage you to. Previous videos, we went to all the different tabs, the table view, the model view. We talked about how to build models, transform data, getting data, pumping it in here, getting this whole thing going. So we're gonna stick right now with building visuals. We're gonna talk about the repetitive process for how to do that. I have other videos. You can see an hour-long video, 45-minute video about how to build an idealistic bar chart. We're not gonna get into that level of detail. We're just gonna talk about, from a beginner perspective, how in the world to use these things. It's a repetitive process to get the basics going. And believe me, you can get into the deep weeds of this thing to build something that's next level. Okay, so we're in our main screen. Again, report view is where we're gonna be hanging out for all of the reports. And report is essentially a page. So you can see there's multiple pages. We can rename these pages. So I'll call this concept 1, and we're good to go. In future videos or in future things you want to build, the bottom left is where you can change from a mobile phone view just to understand the capabilities. You can build reports, publish them to the service, get a view on your phone. We're going to stick with this view. So we're going to really focus and highlight and hang around in these tabs over here. If you didn't see it, the first video talks about how in the view pane, you can customize this experience where you can do pane switcher, always open in a new pane so you can get this stacked view over here that's happening, as well as adding new things, moving the build visual to the pane switcher, which is a clutch suggestion I highly recommend. So let's get into it. These are the 3 big categories I keep up all the time: formatting, building, and data. So if you think about it, we got data, we transform data, we model data, we have some calculations, we have some measures, we have some dimensions. Let's use it. So anytime we're going to start with something, if you know what you want to slice it by or dice it by, start with that. So I'm going to start by saying, I just want to see every product and which one sold the most stuff. So I'm going to pick products. In our dimensions folder, I'll pick product. And you can see it brings up a list. Now what's gonna happen is I'm gonna add on sales, this calculation. You're gonna see it's gonna instinctively or intuitively say, here's the chart I think you're trying to build. And it presents a result. For any visual, you can drag left to right and size that sucker up. In this case, again, I'm someone who can get really particular in visually, editing these things to make them look really good, really sexy. In this case, we're just going to stick with the basics, but look at other videos for tips on how to do that. So let's talk through the concept of how to edit and change these things up. Firstly, if you want to see a list of all the visuals, well, since we have the build a visual added, you can see that it's going to do 2 things. Number 1, it's going to show you the build visual section is going to show you what data elements the visual is using. As well, I have suggest the type turned on. You can turn that off if you want. But then if you click here, you can view reports or visual options. You can also go to insert and change it up here. This has a kind of a cooler way it's organized. I like it better. So if we look at this, again, I'm not gonna go through every visual, but as you click them, it's going to change them. And you can experiment, but if you notice, every time you click one, it's gonna also change the build a visual type because some of them will have different parameters. Some will have legends, small multiples, a whole different world of stuff. Some of them won't even work because you have to add certain things to it. So don't be discouraged by any of that, but you can just see that there's a lot of visuals to pick from. We'll stick with the 101 bar chart. So you pick a visual, it can be any of them. Again, there's lots of detail you can go into with any of these visuals, but you need to understand how to navigate this format pane. And this process is going to be similar for any visual you pick. So firstly, I know I'm doing sales by product, and then I'm going to next look at the build a visual section, because this is where I can say what stuff do I first want to go into the visual. And then I want to say, okay, how do I want the visual to look? So we'll do the looks third. Before that, we're going to put stuff into it. So the options are a legend. We did the product and then the x-axis. If it shows more than one, that means you can create a hierarchy and you can drill up and drill down. So that can be for this value or this. I'll show you what that looks like. So I'm going to choose category, and let's add category to this. Bring product below. Well, what just happened? So if we're curious, we know we can go to the table view first. You gotta make sure you know the data. In this case, you know that every product is assigned a category. So what you can do from a visual hierarchy perspective is say, I want to stack things up so then in the top right corner of any visual, I can interact with it. I can go down a level. So right now I'm on category, I can go down and I can now see every product. Or if I go back up, I can go to this where you can expand and I can actually see every product per every category. So you can see it kind of groups it here, which can be very valuable when formatted correctly and done. So in this case, I know that I'm gonna wanna keep it like this, but I'll go down one level where we see every product. Drill down functionality is beyond beginner, but that's where you can actually enable something where you click into the bar and it will launch something that shows the detail behind it, which is really cool. So let's keep going. That's how the axis works, the axis, and the hierarchy, drilling up or drilling down. Now let's add a legend. So from our model, we know that products also have customer bases. So what about from the customer? If we go in the dimensions and we say, okay, well, how about gender? I want to see of this bar, what's the gender? So I'll add that to the legend. A legend's been created. And again, if I come back up here and I choose different chart types, these principles will stay the same and carry over where they can. Because everything's going to have its own build a visual section and everything. It's a repetitive process, so you can really master it. But now we're here, you can see the legend was added of male and female. And small multiples is a little bit of a beyond beginner, but that's where you can like break every visual up by a grouping. So say I wanted to take this and just experiment at age. Well, now I know here's that same chart broken up into small multiples, which is essentially saying group it by the age. So of the age, here's all the products, and you can analyze these things this way too. So it's a really cool thing. There's lots of functionality you can do. The final is tooltips. That's where you can hover over it and it will show you information about that product. So say I wanted to do that and use our previous calculation of Office 365 sales. If someone hovers over it now, it will show that information. Oh, Office 365 sales, there you can see. Office 365 sales right there as well. So we have this, we have our data, you select what you want to go into the report, and now let's talk through the formatting. The formatting is going to be where you make these things look good. They need to look good. So you can always start by just walking through the list of anything. Any visual you pick, they might be different, but they're all going to have a list of things you can control about that visual. So size and style, this is going to be the shape of it. We'll go through each of these formatting options so you can understand what they are. We'll skip over some of them. Size and style, padding is going to be the spacing. Background, if you want to have a different background, you can always select it. And then transparency is the, how much can you see through something. Visual border, if you want to have a big thick border on or not. If you ever click off of something and you say, oh man, I need to see that again, you just click it. it'll take you back to where you left off. So within any grouping, you can always click a down arrow and it's going to give you more information about that. Rounded corners and like a shadow. So we'll take this thing straight back to 1990 over here. And this looks bad, but it's functioning, you'll see. So now we're going to remove the background or keep going. They've recently released on interaction updating. So for the last 15 or 10 years or whatever it's been, if you wanted to update something, you had to come into the format. But now you can actually click the visual. It's going to launch that, but you can do some items by clicking right into it. So we're going to change the title of this called title. We'll just call it product sales. Great. Also, if you click into it, you can click the formatting arrow and you can control things right here. So maybe I want to add a zoom slider. Zoom in, zoom out. Data labels, that's easy. Total labels, well, that's easy. So this sucker is a key thing to get the key visual elements quickly. But again, all of these are also found on the right-hand side. We'll keep going through it. You can modify the y-axis. Something that's pretty popular is, do I need the title? It just takes up space. Like I know these are products, so let's turn it off. And again, you can control the values. Maybe these things, I want them to be smaller, I want their width changed. Like you get to get into the details. So you control things about the values. Same for the x-axis. Let's turn the title off. We don't really need it. If you want to turn it on, you can. Now the legend. With any legend of the chart, you can move it around. Top, bottom, right. You can see it moving. There's best principles of how to do that and where to do it. But in this case, this is how you do it. We'll put this back top center. If you want to change the text at all, you can format that, even the title. Maybe I don't want to say gender. I want it to say, MS people or something, and Microsoft people. So you can update what you want the legend to show there. Again, think about this formatting pane is being able to control all the visual characteristics of what's going on to these. Let's talk about color. So bar or grid lines, same with grid lines. You can change this. Dotted solid, make them pop so you can see where they are. Bars, once you add things under the bar section, or you can control colors. Another next level kind of feature is to get into conditional formatting, where if something's green, or if something's like over a threshold, then we'll make it green or change the color of it. You can get into that level of stuff. We'll save that for another video. But if you keep going, you'll see bars. You can change the color kind of straight up, and data labels. What's neat about data labels is you can choose the detail of what to use with them. So this is a newer release that's happened, but with data labels and a couple of other things, you'll see this series option. So if I say series all, position, auto, well, maybe we'll move them to inside center. They already are. We'll go to outside base. So you can see we just moved all these, but maybe I want to say, well, I just want this to be all the way at the end. Then under data labels, you can pick a series. So we'll pick male. So now I'm only editing the data labels that are associated with a male grouping. And I want to say, I want those at the inside end. So I just move those all the way over. Same with background. Maybe I want the background to be like white. And you can get in and really start to dive into how you want those labels to show up. So we'll keep going. And now total labels, you can add those, plot area, different lines. But the key thing is that for any visual you add, the formatting section is going to be your friend. This is where you're going to dive into all the nuances of changing visuals. And then what you do to build a report and a dashboard is you figure out the story you want to tell and how things interact. So we built one visual, and you need to think about the questions that you want people to ask. So we'll transition to now building a report. So we have this visual, and we want to say, okay, well, if I click, because you think about interactiveness and you think about questions. So if I say, I want to see, well, of these products, what does it look like over time? So some neat things you can do and keep the formatting the same is this. I'm going to copy this, Control C, Control V. I just created a duplicate, but I want to see now sales over time, and then it will interact with the product and you'll see what I mean. So you copy it first. You don't have to, you can make a new one as well. But this time for the chart type, we want it to be a vertical bar, and we're going to change it a bit because we want to get rid of the legend and I want to see every date. So I'm going to remove the sales from that axis. I'm going to just remove everything. I kept the formatting intentionally. And I'm going to say sales. If you click it, it will take its best guess where you want it, which is the y-axis, which is correct. But now I want to go into the sales area, pick my dimensions, and I want to see sales date. And this is cool because it added the hierarchy. And now let's add that same coloring of gender. So for category, I'm sorry, customers, gender, legend. Now look at this. It looks a little clunky, a little clustered, so we're gonna clean it up a bit. We're gonna say, just like we did before, we'll go to the formatting. I'm gonna turn off total labels. Okay, that cleaned it up a little bit. And we'll roll with it. So here's some key things. I click off of it. First, the title. We're gonna change this title, and I can go to format, title as well. But if you see, I click in here, I just jumped to the section. So I'm gonna do it over here. I'm gonna say this, sales over time. And I wanna put this in the center. Again, everything has a lot of sub options for it. Sales over time. Let's go ahead and move this one in the center too, so it's kind of similar. Now, I don't, you can zoom into this stuff, we'll keep those there. But the goal is, how do we now have these things interact? Because the x-axis just said this, I only care about months. So what you can do is, because I added this category, you can first drill down the hierarchy or drill up. In this case, we're going to drill up because the first thing is year. So here's the totals for the year. Then you can go down to each level or keep them together, which is where you'll drill into a hierarchy and we'll add it. So for each quarter, for each month, and now we have a chart. And we'll even do the day as well. But we don't care about some of these groupings, so we'll remove the quarter. Now we can see for 2019, the months and the dates and what happened. So where does this interactiveness happened? It's like this. If I'm looking at Power BI and this product, and I say, wow, man, I want to know how it got to be the top person, the top product over time. I can click it and things interact. This is the number one thing I do for every report. You can see how I just click this and it doesn't make sense because it filters it down too much. It's called cross-highlighting. What we need to do is enable cross-filtering. So this is a key thing you should do with every report you have. Go File, Options, open up the options screen. In the current file, go to Report Settings and go change default visual interaction from cross-highlighting to cross-filtering. Hit OK. And what we've just done now is when we click Power BI, well, it makes sense because now it's just going to make everything cross-filter and cut down for whatever we click. Power BI, OneNote. So this is where the idea of a report interacting works really well. You pick OneNote, it shows over time what's happening. We can also say, let's give the experience of maybe allowing them to pick the store that they care about. So you'll see I have another video about how to create very good looking interactive card tiles. But for this one, we're going to say, let's make a filter. And a filter is something that allows people to drill or exclude or include certain things of information. So from the stores, I just want to get a list of every store and drop it out here. Well, I want this to be a filter. So I can go back to the insert because I like how it organizes things. And I can see a slicer. Slicer is what it's called. I pick this slicer, I resize it. All right, cool. So I see that I have all my stores here and I can pick and interact with them. But I want to pick more than one, I want to change things up. And I also want it to look the same. So a couple of key things you can do always is the general formatting that I have over here. You can click an image, click a chart, click something you've just created, and click Format Painter, and then go wherever you want to go and just click something and click that, and it's going to put the same formatting to it. This is going to allow you to very quickly and easily create formatting things that look the same without having to do a bunch of work. But just like any other visual, it's going to have a different set of properties. So when I click into this thing, you'll see it's different. I know that the field is store, but I want it to interact, and you'll go through every menu of any formatting. Slicer, I want it to be a vertical list, but I want the selection to be show all. And then multi-select with control, so I can hold control and click multiple items, because that's what that shows there as well. You could change it if you felt like to a drop down. Click drop down, pick things. But in this case, we're gonna actually pick a tile. And just like with any other visual, you can go through and hit the details of the tiles and how to format those. That's beyond beginner, especially if you want to get into the new card visual. I have a video on that one too, where you can go to the slicer, this new slicer, and you can really get into the details of how you want these tiles to be set up. But now what we've done is we've created a report. We went from having no data to ingesting data, to modeling data, to transforming data, to organizing data, to having a DAX foundation, and to creating a report. Where now I can go into this, we can select a store, everything will change. We can pick a product, we can pick a day, we can pick a month, and you're good. And you're on the ropes. So if you've built this, you have now equipped yourself with how to be beyond an advanced beginner. So congratulations. Please subscribe if this was helpful, and check out all the other videos I posted to get more details on how to build more complex things. But most importantly, just have fun with Power BI. Enjoy it. I know I do, and I hope you do the same. So have a good day. Bye.